Hi everyone, this is Lisa from Dolte Clothing. Today I want to show you this is one of my free patterns on my website. It's been there for a while, it's just recently been revamped. Here I've made a black bat skirt and a purple bat skirt, and it's a very easy project to sew, great for beginners, great for teaching a beginner to sew as well. So let's get right into it. So you would go print your pattern piece. Remember, there's a 1-inch square on the pattern paper that you would need to measure to make sure that it is 1 inch. Cut out your pattern piece. You then bring your fabric. Here I have my self edge. So the grain line would be in line with the self edge of the fabric. And here's the cut on fold. So I'm going to place it on the fold there. And I'm going to cut it out. It says here cut 2 on fold, so I'm going to cut my first one and then I'm going to cut my second one. Here we have our 2 cut pieces. Alright, and we're going to place them on top of one another, right sides together. This fabric doesn't really have a right or wrong, so I'm just going to place them on top of one another and align them neatly. And then you'll see these points. Every point here on the bottom, I want to mark those points onto my fabric because that is where I'm going to sew. Keep my needle of the sewing machine in, and then I'm going to pivot and continue to sew. So I'm going to take this really large needle and I'm just going to stick a hole through the pattern piece. I'm going to place this pattern piece on top of my fabric and I'm going to mark that hole. Mark the corner. And then for the other side, you just need to turn the pattern piece upside down. There we go, turn it upside down and mark your pivot points. Alright. And now I'm going to sew this seam over here, a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric. And then I'm going to close the top seam also a 1/4 inch from the top. So I've finished sewing my seam over there and my seam over there, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off the corners, these little points over here. Be careful not to cut the stitches. Cut them off straight. And then I'm going to clip into the curve about 3/8 of an inch apart, the clips all the way around the curve. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way till I have finished clipping all the curves. Once all the curves are clipped, you can turn your skirt right side out. And then you need to press out your corners gently. And then got your iron to press it all flat. This is the tool that I used to push my corners out. I've now flattened the piece out nicely, pressed it nice and flat. I'm now going to mark my elastic casing. I've cut a length of elastic 10 inches. This elastic is just slightly bigger than a 1/4 inch wide. So I have to make sure my elastic casing is going to be bigger than that. So I'm just going to make a mark. Or you can use the guideline as shown on the pattern piece. I'm going to take my quilting ruler and draw myself a nice straight line indicating where I want to sew my elastic casing. A light mark, and now I'm going to sew on that line, creating my elastic casing. Thread the elastic through the elastic casing. I like to use a loop turner, but if you prefer, you can also use a safety pin or a bodkin. I'm just going to push the loop turner through, hook my elastic. Alright, and then pull it through. As I pull through, I've got to be careful to catch it over there. I'm going to pin that in place so that it doesn't slide back through. Go all the way through. There we go. Pin, Once my pins are in place, I can just pull the whole lot on both sides to even out the elastic. Now I'm going to put my right sides together and I'm going to sew the back seam of the skirt. I'm going to pull out the pins before I start sewing. So at my machine, as soon as I have my presser foot in place, I will pull out the pins. I finished sewing the back seam. I also did a zigzag on the edge so that to prevent it from fraying. You can use your serger here as well, or one of your serging stitches on your sewing machine. So your skirt is now complete. All you need to do is turn it right side out and it's ready for your doll to wear.